We're almost there.
So-
Oh, and now
Okay.
we are.
Hello.
We are on. Ask me anything with the devs. Well, some of the devs.
Some of the devs are here.
If it were all the devs, it would be
It will be a lot of
a
people.
lot of people.
So do a presentation, Duke, for
Yeah,
for our
I will.
amazing
So,
audience.
boas. Hello, everyone. I'm here with the incredible, the amazing, the absolute expert with music in video games here in Portugal. Um, and João Costa below down here. Can I? Yeah, down there. And also with the incredible,
Amazing.
the phenomenal game designer that should be. I don't know if I'm pointing on the right direction, but I'm guessing it's there. And
Wilson Almeida.
Wilson Almeida, who did the amazing puzzles and a lot more things for Out of Line. So I'm betting is going to have a lot of questions from the experience of the demo, and also everyone is tired of hearing about Francisco Santos and his amazing art. We want to hear about the art of doing music and sounds also for this game, which are absolutely essential for the feeling of this. So
guys, I don't know if you want to have a word first, just introducing yourselves.
Yeah.
How did you end up in this game? What do you do?
That's all good, but I'm also presenting Mafalda Duarte, and she's okay.
Yeah,
she's okay. She exists. All right.
She's right.
One at a time, please.
Yeah, so do you want us to talk about how we got into games or into Out of Line specifically?
Well, how did you get into Out of Line? Do you remember?
How did you get it?
Yeah, I did.
Here?
I want the answer to answer that question. Yeah.
We go way back, like my relationship with Nerd, right? You know about it. So like,
no, I don't know. It's the first time I see you. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. I forgot. Yeah. Sorry. But yeah, it was like 3 years ago when you guys invited me to be a part of the game. At the time, you were developing the VS, like the first vertical slice of the game, like a tiny bit of the game, tiny playable version of the game. And yeah, I did music for that at the time. And then when the game proved to be a huge success, worthy of investment, I got in.
And we have. It was a quite an interesting journey, in fact, because 3 years. First of all, it's a long time. Like, time flew by. But I do remember that the whole process of when you were looking at what Francisco was building and making, and you were like translating that into the music and everything.
Yeah.
It was very early on. You already had pinpointed everything that the game needed, because Francisco was enamored with you and your work.
Yeah, but actually,
I remember that
some of the first stuff that I did actually ended up in chapter 2, I think. Like that's the chapter that you guys were working on at the time. And like some stuff that I did then, like way back then, actually ended up in the game, like more iterated and with a bit more polish on top of it. But yeah.
But so going to Wilson also, let's ask the same question. How did you?
How did you join the team?
Okay, how did that happen? And a pleasure to meet you. First time, I know.
Yeah, my pleasure. So I think it was kind of the same a little bit. I remember seeing the vertical slice at an event. Then you talked to me and with Francisco also. Talked a little bit about the game and some ideas about the game and the puzzles and the scope of the game and what was needed. And then we kept in touch until it was time to get on board, and then I got on board.
It was something like this. Like, I'll do a reenactment. Wilson went. I remember this like it was yesterday. Wilson went to the booth of the game and they sit down. It played. Francisco was looking at them very attentively, and then Wilson just put down the controller, looked at Francisco, and said, "The game is good, but the game design is no. It's no. You need the game design.
The game design is
no. You just said it's no.
The game is yes. The game design is no. Yeah,
is no. Yeah,
I remember.
And you should hire me. And that's how Wilson got in. That confidence.
No, I didn't say anything. I just slipped the cards in Francisco's hands, and then I went away.
Yeah.
That is exactly
with the value, yeah, with the price. This is my price. Call me when you're ready.
I would say, everyone, so if we have wanted to be game designers watching, students, this is how you get a job, is you get to someone and you hand it a card and you walk away.
That's exactly.
Exactly.
Just a blank card, and then you're mysterious. You know, it's just a very, very secretive.
Exactly.
But so I don't know if we have questions because we just started. I know, but let me check the chat. And meanwhile, I'll ask a couple of questions if you don't mind. I'll start with maybe the relationship between you, Wilson, and you, João, during the production of Out of Line, because you guys worked together for a long time in this project, and there was a lot of discussions and presentations and everything. So maybe talking a little bit about that dynamic in your perspective. What do you think?
Of music and dynamic music and game design?
Go ahead, bro.
Shit. Oh, we can curse. Can we curse? We can't, right? Sorry.
Guys, we are professionals.
I think for me, the thing that mostly I think that mostly influenced the music was probably Francisco's art at the time, because the game design came a bit after that. But yeah, and some of the game design has more of an impact, at least from my side, in terms of arrangement, like how the music should sound. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but how the music should progress, right? Because the art and everything influences like instrumentation and harmonies, melodies, etc. But the arrangement, how the music should progress between the different sections, that's a bit more influenced by the game design. Like, what's the time that a player is expected to spend on a certain puzzle, for example? That will influence the arrangement in a certain way. And the progression of the puzzles, like, okay, is it more like a simple puzzle, a difficult puzzle? Then that will probably have some impact on the music. If it's a thing that's more challenging, then maybe the oral reward should be better also when the player finally solves the thing.
Yeah.
So at least on.
But it was Wilson. It was Wilson that communicated that level of difficulty with you, right? It was most of the intent design. Yeah, or you don't speak with each other. You no longer speak with.
Yeah, we were on no communication basis, and I ignored completely. No, we talked a lot about the flow of each chapter. So he was very interested to know what he was just talking about, to see how the flow of the chapter went and the flow of the puzzles. If it was a faster puzzle, a slower puzzle, where they would happen, what happens before, narratively speaking, and after. So yeah, we were always back and forth between each other when there was stuff like that to discuss about each chapter.
Yeah.
And it went very well, and it was an amazing experience. Now, I'm joking, but João is a very good sound designer and musician, because he can look at the game and instantly see what I'm trying to do with the level. So yeah, it's for me it's awesome to have someone like that, because it means that our meetings are short and we can get to the point
and efficient.
And that's a good thing.
Yes.
But that's
So we don't have to talk for a long period of time, right? Now it's short to the point.
I would like to.
That's not what I meant.
I'm joking.
This is exactly like that working with João, right? Because like with Costa, it's just like you would ask, is my music okay, or is in a good direction? Like for me and Francisco, for example, in terms of again art, I would say like atmosphere direction and things like that. And for us, is like we don't. It looks so good.
It was amazing.
It always fits well. Like we don't know. Of course, we try to be as constructive as possible. Like. Okay, maybe it's too long here, or it should transition, or whatever.
It needs more swamp.
needs more prompts.
But I think João is really good at understanding what we're trying to communicate, right? So I enjoy that. Of sometimes you don't need to always be on top of where does this need to go. So whenever Wilson would make a change to a section of a map. And then suddenly, maybe is a puzzle more introspective because you stay there longer. João was the first person saying, no, that music that I made is not good anymore because now the player will stay there for longer, so you would notice if it's too loopy or not. So he's the first person to jump in and say,
especially in terms of level design also, because of the way that Out of Line works, right? The genre of game that it is. So especially in terms of level design, I was talking with Wilson a lot because, like you said, because of the flow and like if the music, especially because in terms of dynamic music, right? Because the music keeps changing as you go along a level. So if a certain section of a level changes place, or now it's shorter or now it's longer, then we'd probably have to adjust triggers. Now this music needs to change earlier. Now it needs to change later. Now it needs to play for a longer time. So yeah, that's really important, at least for me, in the way that I did things for Out of Line.
Yeah, and we already have a couple of questions. So the first one is going to be mostly directed to Wilson. Did certain puzzles puzzles influenced by the music, or only worked on the other way around? So as you were speaking.
It worked mostly the other way around, so the puzzles came first and then the music came afterwards. But at least for me on the last chapter, some of the music that Costa was making, it influenced for sure, because I had more time with that chapter or with that music at least. So it was more of it inspired me in some of the puzzles. I don't want to speak too much about the specifics because
of course
it would be a spoiler. but yeah, definitely on that chapter, because the chapter 2 was the vertical slice was that area, or mostly that area, and it was already more developed. So the direction was already there, but for the last chapter, yeah, that certainly happened.
Yeah, I'd like to add that regarding the terminology that we're using here, we do have a narrative written and it's divided by chapters, but in the game that division in chapters isn't clear, because the whole game is done for you as the player to interpret the whole experience as you interpret. Your interpretation is the interpretation that is correct. But yes, we will be using terms like this.
Sorry, I forgot about that.
Sorry,
like dev terms.
Projection talk.
But this is Ask Me Anything for the developers. So these kind of elements will be unavailable.
And by the way, one of the ways that if someone is wondering on, okay, but why did you divide it like that? I think is because despite the narrative being open and a little bit of sometimes to uncover, it had a 3-arch structure in development. So that is why we kept talking in those terms, despite they not being visible in game. And yeah, so you won't feel that in terms of pausing to go to a level. It's just in terms of the action being like climax, and then just like a 3-act structure for the ones that like narratives.
that was actually the first thing I did when I started working in Out of Line, was to define, or better, to some of Francisco already had his visions for the game, but they need to be structured, and that was the first thing. I think that was the first thing I did when I came on board. So, yep, there's a structure, but the story is completely open.
We have another question, this time for Costa, and it's about. Would love to know what influences or inspirations you had in mind when composing for Out of Line. Come on, use your inner artist and come and say, like, every day I listen to this, and it was
and it's like it needs to be an underground composer
that nobody knows about.
No, actually, like at the beginning of the project, like I said, the main inspiration was definitely Francisco's art, and then I tried to play it around that. Like, for example, the game uses a lot of little voice samples that I chopped up. So that's like a very... I used that a lot throughout the whole game. That didn't come from any particular place. It was just like I was playing around with some samples when I was trying to make like the first track for the game. And I had some voice samples around and decided, what if I add this? And like they worked beautifully, because I thought they worked really well with the watercolor style. That became like a big part of the soundtrack. Those voices became a big part of the soundtrack. And that just came out of me like experimenting with like the game, or still of the game on the background, just playing around. Apart from that, like, I mean, there were clear inspirations that the game draws upon, and that I also check, especially in terms of like our town and the stuff that we wanted. Actually, what I usually do is I do like I actually can share my inspirations, because I do like a YouTube playlist, like a private YouTube playlist where I just keep adding stuff. So I can actually share that playlist, so everyone can check like the stuff that I drawn upon. But yeah, it was stuff like some of the main source of inspiration for the game. Also like the games from like Limbo, Inside, a little bit of Last of Us, like Ori and the Blind Forest, for example. I'm trying to remember. I think there's some like Far Lone Sails. I also listened to it a bit. Yeah,
I love that game. Yeah.
It's a cool reference. And with stuff like that. Actually, a huge inspiration that I didn't add at the time about the voices was actually that I found like when I was like almost done with the soundtrack, but it was Dark, like the Netflix series. If you guys listen to Dark, because the guy the composer of Dark also used a lot of these like chopped up little voices and stuff. And I was listening when I was watching it, like at the end of the process, I was like, oh damn, like, this sounds exactly like some of the stuff that I'm doing for Out of Line.
It's impossible not to separate from our influences around it, right? But it's interesting that you work in that manner of always getting your references and putting them together and listening to them on. Is that a YouTube playlist?
I can share that. So, if anybody wants,
that would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be super cool.
I would love to listen to that.
We need to have like inspiration, Out of Line inspiration.
I'm going to feel the Out of Line, the genesis, the genesis.
Yeah, it's like what artists do. I'm forgetting the name. Artists call it like the. I don't know, when they collect like a bunch of images, the palette. No, it's not the palette.
Oh, a mood board.
A mood board, exactly. Yeah. Thanks for following. Like a mood board, but an audio mood board. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, Francisco did the same with art, and all of us, when we were doing creative things, we're all gathering those influences. Oh, Diogo has a cat.
Yeah, sorry.
And he doesn't like Out of Line, apparently. Go away. And I think we're only as good as our influences, right? So that is really important we are standing in things that came before. And the players are also always referencing their own backstory in a sense, right? So you're always comparing with the things that you're seeing before, and try to build on them. It's not, I'm just going to do something from scratch. I'm building upon this inspiration.
Even if you think you're doing something from scratch, I think like everything that you've heard or everything that you see or whatever, like definitely plays a role in what you come up with.
Yeah, it's not only the immediate. It's like years and years and of cultural references that and everything affects everything. It's like the butterfly in Brazil flaps its wings, and suddenly OST for the Out of Line.
It was that. It was a butterfly.
I think on Wilson, it's a cool thing that I remember someone, because it's within the reference thingy, when there's a puzzle that exists in the demo. There is the ball rolling, and people are like, oh, that is exactly like a billion other moments that you've seen in pop culture, and I think even those little things you can put it there, referencing something but also feeling unexpected at the same time. So I think you did that very well. And you have people telling you that, like, oh, this is from that game, and you're like, this is from everywhere, because it just exists on our...
Yeah, of course. You cannot escape. It's a remix of a remix of a remix. That's how creation
copy
works.
Of a copy of a copy.
Yeah.
Even
it's
humans
not just
are
a copy,
remix
it's
of
a
our
remix.
parents.
You have a question for you?
I have a question. Yeah. No, I have a question for Wilson, and it's about the challenges of designing puzzles for Out of Line. What were those challenges?
Okay. Actually, there's a very big blog post about that on the dev blog of Out of Line, but that explains not also the challenges, but specifically the process. But the challenges are, it's not so much as a challenge, it's just what it is. So in this case, when I came into the project, there was already some basic mechanics of what the game should be. There was already some kind of tools to create those puzzles. So it's a different kind of challenge in this case. So it's just focusing on iterating on creating puzzles, and also on doing a little bit of tool design to make the tools better for puzzle creation. But generally, what you have to conquer, it's the blank sheets, and then where you need to keep going at it and creating puzzles, or whatever it is. In this case, puzzles. But it's finding ways to conquer that blank sheet, or finding ways to conquer those moments that you feel that, okay, it's not getting out right now. So you have to find ways of getting around that, and it usually involves looking at the same thing but through a lot of different perspectives. Or using, for example, stuff that I usually do, and it's something that I did in Out of Line, but for puzzle design in general, just taking 2 or 3 mechanics and forcing myself to use only those 2 or 3 to create and iterate a bunch of puzzles around it, or forcing the level design, the topology of the level, and then try to come up with puzzles that work there. Or in some cases, it was the characters in the game, so then I have to work around that. So usually, to sum it up, just embrace limitations and look at it as a challenge, and really try to. It's like designing puzzle games is in itself a puzzle game. So that's if you look at it right like that, I'm sure it will be more engaging and more fun to do that. Even when you are in a place that you are not coming up with new ideas, but you will eventually find your way around. So just don't give up, and that's the challenge of creating puzzles.
And I definitely recommend reading that blog post that Wilson was mentioning. It is very detailed. He said it's big. It's not about being big. It's about being detailed and having that full experience of Wilson's perspective on the design of the puzzles, and it is a very insightful thing to read. I have another question. It touches a little bit on what we were talking earlier, but maybe we'll just go a little bit deeper, which is about the way you guys communicated with each other. Maybe talking a little bit on the more of the professional level. For example, the whiteboard of Wilson, the downstairs in his dungeon, or the visits of Costa sometimes in the studio, and how did those interactions? What did you guys talk about, or was it during lunch? was it during a croissant? Because we eat a lot of croissants during the production of Out of Line, like literally a lot of croissants. It's not even a joke.
That was the main fuel for Out of Line, everyone. It is true, it exists, it's proven now.
I mean, and the reason, and by the way, just to give some context on this croissant story, for some reason, during the 8 years of existence of Nerd Monkeys, we are always near
croissant place. That's right.
just make amazing croissants. It's incredible.
That's right,
for 8 years. That's why I'm fat.
Blame the croissants.
Anyway, please do it. Yeah.
I mean, I guess most of our communication already happened during COVID times, right? Unfortunately, and when we started more seriously, like on the production of Out of Line began at like full steam. COVID hit, so we all had to go to our houses and work from home, like a bunch of people had to. So I think most of our communication was done online, and we would just basically set up meetings. I guess we did some like live sessions with Wilson showing me Unity and playing through a level. I'm like, okay, this is where this will happen. This puzzle works in this way. I think like we did some sessions like that, so I could have a better understanding of the flow of a specific level. I would ask questions and Wilson would answer them.
Yes, that was pretty much it. But it also helps that we already know each other.
Yeah, that's
from.
This was not our first rodeo together.
Yeah, exactly. So that's also easy on the communication side. So that's when I was talking about earlier that the meetings were shorter. It's not because I don't like to talk with João. It's because we already know how to communicate with each other and already have that going on for us. So yeah, it pretty much me showing the level in construction or work in progress to João and showing him where stuff will happen. Or stuff that is already happening and how can he bring the sound into it and make it pop even better. So yeah, that was pretty much it.
Apart from that, was
always a fine meeting.
Apart from that, it was just like Slack, I guess.
Yeah.
for quick questions or for quick doubts, like how this should work here. Let me just. It was like 1 minute or 5 minutes. Quick Slack for quick questions.
Like Costa is like a very
focused,
like a very
pragmatic.
very correct.
It's like this.
Like yes. But will it music? Yes. But don't forget about how you guys inspired each other. I know that you often, when you were in person, you look each other's in your eyes. Deep
we wouldn't even speak. We wouldn't even speak. It was just like 5 minutes of intense staring.
Very intense chemistry.
The energy was there. I remember.
Finger guns at the end. Gotcha. That was it. That's your conversation.
That's the whole thing. I just show my whiteboard, and he immediately knows what's going to be like the sound and where it's going to trigger.
It's amazing.
I just showed like a line drawing on the whiteboard.
Yeah. But we should talk about Wilson's whiteboard.
Mafalda wants to know about your whiteboard, because we know that you have a special relationship with your whiteboard.
The amount of meetings that Wilson was just like trying to. When COVID strikes, is like he had a whiteboard in the studio, but then it's like he was at home super sad because he didn't have the studio whiteboard. So we just set up one there. And then he pointed the camera and started talking to everyone with whiteboard.
And Wilson had like a setup with different cameras, an angle from to the top, an angle from below, an angle from the side. Like it was like a studio almost. It was a complete
you need
a
to
whole
talk
thing.
about your whiteboard.
And tell us about the whiteboard.
One thing that I can say about the relationship between music and game design, that in some parts of the game, in some puzzles of the game, the music progresses as the puzzle progresses, right? So I try to convey a sense of accomplishment and that the player is on the right way through adding like more layers of music. So as the player solves the puzzle and gets closer to the answer, the music also
to serve the player as indication of progression.
Not sure if it's something that all players will notice, because it's like it's still a thing that's on the background. It's still, but hopefully it will have people like understand.
I would actually say that it doesn't really matter the player notices it because it feels the progression. I think most of the time it's one of those things that, in particular with how things were made for Out of Line, everything is a lot about feeling it, not directly understanding it or comprehending.
And I would say so. On that note, I was yesterday in a stream with MC playing Out of Line, and audio on Out of Line. Of course, Costa was the composer, but it isn't just that. There's also sound design that was made by a team that is not here today, but they're amazing. It
was great. It was great working with them.
Alex Ruger and Alex Cote, and so they are a great part of this conversation that we're having as well. For example, exactly what Costa was talking about in the progression of music as some areas and music letting the player know, okay, you are moving forward. Sound design really complemented that in giving hints for what to do and in some points. So they played really well together on understanding when, okay, now maybe my music is quieter and slower because like some needs to tell someone to look at here. And so, for example, yesterday, while we were playing, there's this challenge where something is sparking somewhere. And of course, the artwork is there letting you know, and effects are there. But what made him notice was like, oh, there's something that is sounding differently here. And when he take notice of that and understood that was important, that is when he solved the puzzle afterwards. So I think, Wilson, you also worked a lot with those elements, because if you would put all the hints in the puzzle itself, then it wouldn't be a puzzle. And it was super well integrated to understand when you should tell other people in the team is like, oh, maybe this is an artistic hint, or this is a visual hint, a visual hint, that was what I meant, or this is a audio hint, or things like that.
Yeah, it's very important to get all those into the mix. So it's not just the mechanics; it's also the visual cues and the audio cues. But for the puzzle, what's the better approach is you don't know how to solve it, but you know what you have to do. That's the key or the basis for a good puzzle. The player needs to know what they have to do, but they just don't know how to do it, and then that's the part of the puzzle that they have to figure it out. And all those elements that you talked about, they are extremely important because you get to play with different things, not just the visual side. You have to play with the audio side or with the mechanical side of the game, with the actual game mechanics. So those are all very important elements that we draw upon to create the puzzles, for sure.
I have another question. I will always have questions. Can you, any of you, share one memorable moment? It can be an interaction with someone, can be the production itself, can be the moment that you said, I'm going on vacation. So bye, It can be whatever. But what during
done with
the
this
production
game.
online, can you share a memorable?
I don't want to play it anymore.
It's always a nice thing to share to one of those moments of how things actually flow within a studio. What can you share with us?
About the production itself, or something that we did for the game?
It can be a memorable, for example, for me, a memorable moment was having one person that I unfortunately, due to an NDA, I cannot mention, having visiting but that works in really really cool games in the industry, and was in Portugal, and wanted to share with us and experience with us several things, and basically give us opinions on the game, and just having someone that I admired playing the game so early on and during the production, and telling us, look, this is good. This is, I would do it this way. I think you're on the right track on this. That was for me an incredible memorable moment, and almost like a tear going down my
Oh, dude, I have a memorable moment, but it's ridiculous. It's like the most technical ridiculous thing.
Ridiculous.
So on Out of Line, we use this I'm forgetting the name, like Bitbuckets, the synchronizer like repository, but for the audio. So we use Perforce, which is like something that you can connect to FMODs, yes. which was the audio engine that we use on Out of Line. Like everything was done inside FMODs, and me and the other 3 sound designers had to find a way to synchronize everything in a good way instead of just overwriting each other's work. Right, so a memorable moment I think was when we finally got Perforce to work, because it took like that thing was hell to set up. So when we finally did it and everything worked from inside FMOD and we could all like just add stuff and everything just worked, that was freaking amazing.
I have to agree. That was definitely a memorable moment for me, because I was the one exchanging tickets to asking, like, but this is not working. Please help me.
There's like a commit that's just like all caps. It freaking works now. I was just like, yes.
But see, that was a very nice one.
Moment, yeah.
Great share.
And we finally got like the thing to sync each other's works to work. How we wanted it to work, exactly how we wanted it to work, right? And then it was just like smooth sailing from there on. It was fantastic.
Yeah, and in this particular case, it was really, really necessary to work with the right tools in order to have the whole flow of the development in the side of music and sound effects to work correctly, and to not, like you said, overwrite it. And that would be a big no-no, a big no goods, no bueno.
Before we pass to Wilson's big moment, I just want to leave a reminder that Reggie is making me do it. I don't know what to say in English. To guys, leave questions in the chat. We're still open. We're still talking. But this is Wilson time to shine.
Yeah.
Your big moment.
Your memorable moments. Go, Wilson. Go.
The big moment is finishing the last puzzle, the last section, or the last sections of puzzles. I think that's the memorable moment, because then you look back and you see a bunch of work that you did, or a bunch of puzzles that you did, and then that's the last one. I think that's one of them, one of the biggest. The other one is a little bit more, I would say it's technical, but I cannot spoil too much, or cannot say too much, but it was when I was programming one of the mechanics of a certain puzzle, that it was getting hard, because it involved a lot of, and I'm going to be a bit technical here, but how do you say, oh no, I'm messing up the name of that, a function that calls a recursion. There was a lot of recursion involved, and then it finally worked. I was able to get around, and that was a very satisfying and memorable moment for me. because that was a key step on getting to the other memorable moment that I just talked about, of finishing all the sections necessary of the puzzles. So yeah, finishing the puzzles for sure.
Yeah, other than that, for me, it was like when the music and the sound design finally started to come together. There's like a little moment throughout the game that I really like, which is when you... I don't think this is a spoiler, I think. When you interact with the cube trees and deposit the cubes. It's just like a little moment in which I did like a little voice for that moment, and the sound design team did something on top of it, and it worked really well. They worked really well together. It's like a little moment that I really enjoy every time that it happens in the game.
It made so much difference that it felt that it got volume. That it was. I remember as the sound and the music was being implemented, I was suddenly like, "Huh, we're doing a game, and it looks good and sounds good."
This is another game
because
and it's full.
It's full. It had something that felt almost I could touch. It was really amazing.
It's the soul.
I would just say, so for hearing Wilson talking about the last puzzle, right, also reminds me that I think one of the other big moments was the beginning. So I remember when our partner HATINH Interactive, Philip Dow came to our studio for the first time, and that is really like, oh, this is going through, right? It was like, we are meeting our partners, we have the team, we have the game is in a cool place, and we are just going to start to make this thing.
And I would like to add that the first thing that happened when Philip came to the studio was Wilson basically said, "Oh, you're the publisher. Come here to my dungeon." And Wilson took him to his dungeon, and suddenly here's my whiteboard, and he talks for like 2 hours about the puzzles and the design, and Francisco is about with the how it connected with the music.
And kids want to show their drawings to their parents. It was like that, but with big people.
With big people.
Big people.
It's recorded somewhere. I need to find that recording. Well, we have another question meanwhile, but before that question, I would also like to add that one thing that was amazing about this interaction with HATINH Interactive was the possibility of making a lot of playtesting and QA with the game, and in particular the playtesting with people from all around the world. Because this influenced so much of the whole experience, the design process. It informed us and avoided us from being so tunnel vision sometimes, because it's unavoidable. We've been working on this for so long.
I think it's really important to have good partners that will take you out of your creative comfort zone sometimes, because you need to do things that you wouldn't do either other way, right?
We need challenging. This kind of the challenging from the players that will always find some way of
players will challenge you as well.
And but since this is brought up, that process, I think this is even more particular for Wilson. That process, how was it dealing with so much information suddenly? Because those tests were like, here, there's 100 new reviews for us to interpret on this puzzle or this particular thing, or etc. So, how can you shed some light on how you dealt with that?
Integrate that with your
give me just a second just so I can turn the lights on. Sorry.
Yeah, go.
There's never too much feedback or playtest, so that's not a problem. That's a very good a good problem to have a lot of feedback. So because that was one of the I think the challenges of working from home is maybe losing a little bit of that easy to get or easy to do playtest that we could have done if we were on working at the studio. but having that a lot of playtests coming from the publisher was great, and we deal with it one step at a time, going through the most important puzzles or most important feedback regarding the different spots on the game that needed to be worked on. But yeah, there's not having too much feedback is not a problem. It's a good problem to have. So I think that in that sense, it was a very good experience having that stream of feedback coming in.
Okay, so I have one more from the chat. Congratulating everyone from the upcoming launch.
Thank you.
And the question is, what adjustments did you and your team find? Did your team find yourself making, if any, in response to the pandemic? And we already talked a little bit of how is studio live versus online live. So go ahead, Diogo.
Okay. I guess I'll answer this one. So first of all, it was a very interesting thing because we knew very little right at the beginning of the pandemic. I knew that we needed to be on the safe side, and right in February we were already considering just going remote, and it was a very hard decision to do because our team for many years always worked on in house, and I personally work best in house. I work best because I work more productively when I have people working around me as well, and that transition was hard for me personally. I think that some of the people in the studio adapted very well. Some of them was a little bit harder. For me, was definitely on that latter option. But we had many difficult decisions to do. Things like logistical, because we needed to continue to pay the rent and things like that. But nobody was using it, but stuff was still there and still is. But the other end was, how do we continue to communicate? Because our communication was so close to each other. We had lunches together. We had coffee. We went for a walk, and those moments are very important because you are clearing your mind to deconstruct a problem, and all of that, it went away suddenly. And we had to adapt to a completely different manner of working, which was initially with the Slack and currently with Discord. We had to change from a face-to-face easy communication where you just go to someone else's desk and see or ask or request or question whatever needs to be discussed, to suddenly being only over emails, only over the Slack, only during video calls, and it works. But there was definitely 3 weeks of adaptation. Those first 3 weeks, it was not easy. But after that, there's no other way. This is going to be something that is going to continue on, and even though we had a lot of questions, one of the decisions that happened by end of March was, guaranteedly for us, we will stay remotely until the end of the year, until the end of 2020. So making that decision was the best adaptation to the pandemic that we could do, was taking uncertainty. Nobody knew that we're maybe going to the office, or no, it was no, we need to make this decision. It's still going to be hard, but it was the best way to adapt. And then learning new tools, and trying to create new ways of interacting, trying to find ways to maintain the social aspect. And it was, and it will never be the same in terms of how we worked. But everyone did their best. Some of them some of the people in the studio were really good at working remotely, and others had more difficulty. And we tried to play games. We played Among Us a lot. Well, I played Among Us a lot, and yeah.
We tried to do activities to keep us together.
Yeah. It was hard to keep things together because the production side of things didn't really change, but the way that you get the information changed a lot. Like the way we got the feedback from the team changed a lot.
Yeah.
We have a question on merchandise.
Oh, nice. The question on merchandise. So, do I answer this one?
I don't know.
Do you answer
I don't know
this
if
one?
the,
I'll ask the
counts
question.
as merchandise.
As merchandise, yeah. It does count as merchandise. First of all, right now, if we follow you in your work, you have the soundtrack in your channels, right?
Not yet.
No, not yet.
It will be.
Okay.
It
will be like
I'm spoiling
I'm
things.
finishing it up actually. At the
Yeah.
moment, I'm finishing it up, but it will be available on.
Stay
the internet.
Stay. I already leaked information. Too much information.
It will be. I'm planning,
information.
it will probably be like everywhere that people use, especially like Spotify, Bandcamp, which I recommend to everyone. To support, if you want to support your artists, use Bandcamp. It's the best platform for buying music out there, like hands down. But it will be available on all those good places.
But yeah, we are hoping for a vinyl special edition.
Oh yeah, I don't know. That would be awesome.
Yeah, we love a vinyl. Yeah.
Guys, start the petition.
Let's give you I have a question actually for. Yeah, exactly. If something is merchandisable in the game, what would it be? Give me your opinions. Wilson, go ahead.
Pick a merchandisable thing.
Of course, the spear. No, but no.
Like fully sized and capable of.
Fully sized spear?
Capable of spearing.
I think. For me personally, the item I would like to have as a merchandise would be a cube.
The cubes?
The cubes.
A blue cube.
The cube.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, that would be super
It would be like a lamp that lights.
Oh, like a lamp.
Like I would like to have a little cube on my desk,
that would be so cute.
lighting up my.
Nice.
I think that would be, or a little bonsai tree
with the cubes. Cubes. Yeah, the tree with the cubes. That'd be nice. Yeah.
A tree with the cubes that lights up.
Guys, you know what? We should have toothpicks.
They're like tiny spears.
or these cocktail food things with their tiny spears with a cube on top.
That's good. That we have. We're brainstorming good merchandise ideas.
I want to send bobbleheads.
So, a sand bubble. Oh, that's nice. That's a nice, and it would fit really well.
Is sand pop figure confirmed?
Exactly. To be honest, I have one that I'm actually very wanting, which is I want to be able to snuggle a plushie of those cute little bugs, and I want to be able to sleep on it. So that's my wishful my dream, my wishful thinking of merchandise. What about you, Mafalda?
I like the bugs, but not in that way. I just like the three together as like little figurines. You know, like the Asterix special collection have the little figurines. Yeah, just like that, but just little bugs and sand. So.
Yeah. But there was actually an idea for answering the question in the chat. There is one idea from Francisco, for example, which was doing one particular thing with the bugs. The bugs, some of them have a little leaf coming out, and one of the ideas was to do a vase where you plant something, and then the leaf comes out from that vase in the form of the cute little thing.
So it's like a little bug that you can plant things on. That would be cute.
Yeah, we have a lot of ideas for merchandise, but we need to
It's a process.
Yeah.
Well, buy the game, wish
yeah.
list it, make it.
Please do, and
make it be successful, and we can have merchandise.
Yeah, we'll seriously consider those kind of things.
Yeah, I think we're here for an hour almost. So I don't know if you want to have final words about your experience within the game and Out of Line and coming. It's almost coming out. It's on the June 23. Last thoughts,
It's
guys?
just like it was a really fun project, right? The way I did the music was hands down one of the.
It was a really fun project.
That was it.
Period.
Yes. Project good.
That's fun.
Okay.
It was nice. It was like one of the more challenging soundtracks that I've ever worked on. Especially because of the way that the soundtrack works in the game, like it's divided like in a bunch of little pieces. So that's why making the soundtrack for release has been like a bit of a challenge. You have to get a bunch of tiny loops and like dynamic stuff and try to make it make sense as a track, like as a final piece of music. Yeah. In that regards, was a really cool challenge.
People can look for your work and follow you online and things like that.
Right now, SoundCloud and Bandcamp. Fortunately, I left my website.
And
you need to tell your name.
Oh, like Pedro J. Costa.
Exactly.
Okay.
Pedro J. Costa. I like the J in the middle, like Pedro J. Costa.
Yeah, when we play this, we can move it in the chat afterwards as well. It's being like a nice thing. Just follow him, and because Out of Line OST is going to be in his channels as well. So follow, guys. Follow for news.
Wilson, do you have any last words before I terminate you?
For me, it was I think the most challenging thing on the project, because it was something that never happened in my life before, was the pandemic. Of course, I think for everyone. But I think that was a very big challenge. Apart from that, it was a very fun project to work on. It's the kind of game that I really enjoy. So that's also a very big plus, because as a professional, sometimes you have to work or design stuff that it's not the type of game that you wish you were working on. But there was this incredible match for this game, and I really enjoyed seeing Francisco's art and the animations coming alive, and the sound, everything coming together. So that was definitely when that started to happen. Even with all this going on in the world, it was very, very inspiring to keep us going and to finally reach the finish line, which is next week. I don't have anything to plug. I guess my Twitter. You can follow me at Julian_logic. And because my website right now is it's an interesting story. It's not important for the stream, but it involves a fire in a server somewhere. So
I let mine expire. I forgot to renew it, and it just expired.
But you can follow me on Twitter, and I share some interesting stuff there sometimes. I think it's interesting.
And you guys need to follow Wilson's. Yeah, you need to follow Wilson's post, right, on designing.
Yeah, it's one particular post that we do. It's on the Out of Line blog post. We are redoing the Nerd Monkeys website, so it will be easier to find. But if you look for Out of Line development blog, you'll probably find it on Google. Mafalda, do you have any last words?
Well, I just enjoyed working with all of you guys. So, and I'm super excited to starting this finish line, right? Just
starting this
finish line.
Because
Awesome.
right, it's like it's not ending the game; it's starting the finish line. Because from now on, it's again starting to get the reviews, to get players in it, to follow that up, to see if we can have merchandise, guys. and yeah, so it's like a new chapter of ending a game.
Yeah, so it's basically not ending, only beginning.
Yeah.
And I would like to say that definitely it was quite an experience, and I'm very thankful to be able to work for so long with so many amazing people.
Yeah.
It goes from the first person in this project, which was Francisco Santos, up until the last person that came into the project, which is Philippe Dao, with HATINH Interactive, and everyone in between. It was an amazing journey and experience, and I'm just thankful to be able to have done this with you guys. So yeah, that's the note that I want to end on. And yeah.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. Guys, don't forget, wishlist the game, play the demo, and buy the game when it's out in June 23.
Yeah, please buy the game. Please.
It's just so you can have Merc. Like, buy the game for yourself so you can have Merc after.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks
Bye everyone.
Bye, thank you
for the invite. Yeah.